1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if somebody can hear me, it'd be great. Oh, where is my sound? So is that working? So for anybody who's watching right now, if you can't hear me, if you can hear me, can you just send me a quick chat in a message? One. Hello? So hopefully now, let's try that. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for this. We just got some slight technical problems. For some reason we can't get the sound going. So hopefully somebody can hear us soon. I'm trying everything I can. Okay, good. Okay, right, so just had confirmation that people can hear me. If you do have any problems, just send me a quick text message through the YouTube in the comments section, and I'll try and see what's happening here. I use a Mac, and in Cambridge we use a lot of Macintosh computers. Macintosh computers are really very simple to use, so if there is a problem, let us know as quickly as possible, and we'll try and get it fixed. Okay, but thank you for coming. Today it's Saturday, the 3rd of December, so that's also the third day of Christmas. I'm not sure where you are, but hopefully where you are, you're getting excited for this time of year that's coming. Okay. My name is Andrew, and I'm the director of a company called Cambridge EAP. Here at Cambridge EAP, we specialise in many English examinations. The one we're going to look at today is IELTS, but we also cover things such as the Cambridge FCE, CPE, CAE exams. We do BEC, BULATs. The one thing we don't do is general English, because we would like to specialise in one thing. That's where our heart is. Okay. Today we're actually going to talk about a test called IELTS, and this is the academic IELTS test. More specifically, we're going to look at a section of the test called Writing Task, and this is Writing Task 1. Now, I'm not sure what you know about Writing Task 1 introductions, but making a good impression for the examiner starts with the very first sentence. And with this, you need to make sure that you write this sentence quickly, you write it effectively. Now, in the IELTS test, there are 7 kinds of writing task 1s. So these are the first ones here. We'll just have a look at these. As you can see on the whiteboard, so sorry about that, I'm just interrupted here. Okay, So you can see in the whiteboard that we have these are the writing task ones. Now some of these you know, some you don't know. The first one which comes up sometimes is the IELTS. This is the map question, and this occurs sometimes in the IELTS test. When it does happen, people often find it quite difficult. A map question is actually not so difficult if you know how to do it. The problem with the map question is that it doesn't come up in the IELTS test that often, and it's very hard to find practice material on the internet or in books about this. The next kind of writing task 1 question is called a process. Process questions happen much more in IELTS. And these were more likely to occur in the test, probably about 10 to 15% of the time. The process question, again, is actually easier in some ways than the other questions, because with these process questions, you don't have to choose things. We have here, for example, in these 14 pictures. Now, the IELTS examiner is expecting to see something written about all 14 questions of these pictures. Okay. And the last kind of question, which happens only sometimes, this one here is called a diagram question. So this is a diagram. Diagram questions, they happen just sometimes. Again, when they do happen, they're often very difficult. And if you guys have any comments about the diagram question, leave it in the comments section below, and it's something that we could look at in a future lesson. Okay. Now these tests here are called visual. They're all called visual tests, because they require the understanding and the looking at pictures. Okay. So, okay, process. Okay, and visual tasks in writing task 1 would occur in a year, which is, we need to remember, a year is actually quite a few tests. But in any country, visual diagrams account for about 30% of the IELTS exams. Okay, so not so often, but you need to be careful because they do happen sometimes, and quite often when people least expect it. These are the ones which we are more familiar with, and you may recognize them. So let's look at the first one. This one here we know is a bar chart. Oh, sorry, no, my mistake. I think my mind is, bar chart's the next one. So this one here is a table. Okay, and it's actually important when you do your writing, make sure that you say table. Sometimes as examiners, it's been said that we see the words like table chart or table graph, and it's very important that you don't write this. It's just a table. Okay, the other one, as we know, is the bar chart, and it could be a bar chart or a bar graph. Again, it doesn't matter which one you say, bar chart, bar graph. Chart and graph tend to be interchangeable with each other. Examiner won't have any preference for either. Going further down, so this one is a pie chart. Okay, again, pie chart or pie graph. And the last one, which is called the line chart or line graph. Line chart here, or the line graph. Okay, and these ones here account for about 70% of the exams each year. Okay, these are very important ones because if you're studying IELTS to do a master's or some kind of postdoctorate studies, then you're going to be talking about data, interpreting data very often, and so you need to be familiar with these kind of exams. They happen very often, and it's for this first session from Cambridge AAP, that we are going to actually look at this one and give you some advice, give you some suggestions, talk about the structure, talk about how to start to do this in a quick and fast way. Okay? Right, good. So let's move on. Okay. So let's just erase a few things, make the space a bit cleaner. Okay. Now the majority of these notes will be available for you when we finish. If you click on the link in the description below, you'll be able to download the pictures, the screenshots that are taken. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact us at any time. Okay. Right. Good. So let's clear this up. Okay. So let's remove this. Okay, and okay, take this way and take this away. Okay. Right, so the structure of a writing task 1 for these data tasks is very important. And normally we have 3 parts. The examiner wants to see 3 parts. This is very important. Many people think that the IELTS writing task is just about grammar and vocabulary. And this is quite true. But vocabulary and grammar only account for about 50% of your writing score. The way you structure your writing, the way you do your paragraphing, you communicate, you show that you understand through organization. And for writing task 1 like this, there's going to be 3 parts. The first one, which is always the same, is called an introduction. So an introduction is a key part. It demonstrates to the examiner that you understand the chart and you've identified what you're talking about. So our advice here for the introduction is to make sure that you try to do this in just one sentence, and try to keep the number of words down to about 30. So about 30 words maximum. Now, you can write more. Of course you can write more. But the thing is, you need to understand that writing task 1, should take you about 20 minutes maximum. So you don't want to spend too much time on this. The next thing that we have is the body paragraphs. Now the body paragraphs are the meat. That's the main part of the writing task 1. It's here where we see really how much you can do. You can show your different grammar structures. You can show different ways of saying the same thing. Your different tenses, maybe your past tenses, your present tenses. Here you look at your comparative language, your superlative language. And these are things that we're going to look at in a future session. Okay, but it's body paragraphs. Make sure you write at least 2 of these. These include the features, the main parts of a writing task 1. Okay, and the last thing that we talk about is the conclusion. Now the conclusion is yet another part of writing task 1. It's different to the body paragraphs. There are things to remember here. So let's go into some detail. We try not to put any numbers into our conclusion, because we've already said that in our body paragraph before. We should try to limit this just to 1 sentence. And we're looking at about 20 words here. Now, there is actually another way to do the structure. So let's call this version 1. Version 1. We have another way of doing the writing task 1. And a lot of my students do this, and probably a lot of you out there also do the same thing. And so we have an introduction, the same as before. We then have what's called a general statement. And a general statement can be written in the same section as an introduction. So it can be in the same section, or you can actually write it as a new paragraph. Okay, and what was the writing? Okay, if you can't read my writing, again, let me know in the comment section, because I'm still sleepy and waking up here. Okay. Right, now the last section is, in this other one, is called body. These are the body paragraphs just here. So the body paragraphs. Okay. And let's call this, let's give it a name and give it a nice color. I like this one. Okay. So this one is called version 2. Now, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You can choose version 1 or version 2. We don't mind. But the key point is that you have these 3 parts, because each part is going to have a different function, a different purpose. And when the examiners are looking at your writing, they're not just looking at your grammar and your vocabulary, as we mentioned before, but they want to know why you do it. And they want to see that you understand the different parts of a writing, its purpose, and what the intended effect is on the examiner itself. Okay, good. Right, so what I'm going to do very quickly is that I'm going to take a copy of this screenshot and I will place this into the link below. So again, when we finished, you can actually save it. You can actually have a copy and look at it again after class. So just save that, export. Okay. Okay, right, done. Good. Great. Okay. So this means that if you've actually lost something or you come late, you're not actually going to miss out on anything. Right. Okay, guys. So as we mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be looking at the introduction. So I'm going to clear this. Okay, actually, should I clear it? Should I clear it? No, no. What I would do is I would just move it over here for a second, and then so we can actually look at it again later on. Okay, so the introduction. Where should we put it? Okay, so let's just put it just here. Great. Okay, we need some space. Okay, so and we're going to use the table as our first example. So introductions. Oh, what am I? Okay, red. Okay, no, black. So introductions. Okay, introductions are important because it is basically the first time for you to show to the examiner your language range, your vocabulary, your grammar, and your general sentence structure. It's also important to realize that in the introductions we need to consider speed and accuracy. In the test, you're only going to have 1 to 2 minutes to write this. So you need to get it done quickly. If you're spending in your practice time in your home or in a classroom somewhere, or in a library hopefully, if you're spending 4 or 5 minutes doing an introduction, then it's too long. And we need to reduce that time down to 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. To help you do this, here at Cambridge EAP, we actually teach 6 little questions. And these 6 little questions are actually very important questions to firstly help you understand the chart, but also demonstrate to the examiner that you can write these lovely long sentences. So let's explain the questions to you, and we're going to be giving some examples of that during this session. Okay, so so let's write these down. Let's give ourselves blue. Cambridge blue. Cambridge blue is a nice colour. Okay, and make it a bit large as well. Good. So let's go for number 1. Question number 1. Very simple question is basically, so what chart is this? Okay. So here we're looking at a table, and so that's what we say. It's just a table. But examiners look for where people begin to copy. And quite often people copy the word shows on here, which is a bad idea. There is other language, there's other ways of saying this. And this is, in this example, we're going to say that this. So we're going to say the table presents information about. Okay? And that's the first part of our sentence. And we get that from the first question. Make it a bit more space. Okay, so on to the next question. Okay, and so we know what the chart is about, what the chart it is. We need to say, well, okay, we need to say what. Okay, so what is being measured? What is being measured? Like this. Okay, so let's have a look at the writing, this particular table. We're just going to zoom in at the moment to have a look. And you see here that, okay, we're talking, the table below shows the trend of food consumption in America between 1980 and 2000. So we're talking about how much food. Now this is where we first begin to show our language range. If we were just to copy this, the trend of food consumption, the examiner is going to be a bit surprised because that's what the question says. We should try to rephrase it, try to say it in another way if possible. So let's change it around and let's write it down and let's see if we can make it a bit different. So the table presents information about, and let's talk about this. Okay, so we're talking about the rate of consumption. Okay, ... Okay, and that's all we say about, because we're talking about consumption. It's not really the right time yet to talk about the other categories. We have, as you can see, we have here red meat, we have poultry, we have fruits, we have veggies, milk, soft drinks. We'll talk about this in a moment. Okay. Anyway, let's move on, and then we have the next question. Go back to our lovely Cambridge Blue. And now we know what we're talking about, we're going to think about, so how is this being measured? And this is really a question about units. Now, numbers will usually at least have units connected to them. So units could be kilograms, it could be percentages, it could be dollars, it could be pounds, but you need to make sure you understand. And for this particular writing task 1, we actually have 2 units. Because we're here, we are talking about food, and food is measured in pounds. And for here, we are talking about drink, and this is measured in gallons. So we should say this. So put a ... and a comma. And remember, this will be one long sentence when we finish. You say measured in pounds and gallons. This is a great thing to do because we've now shown to the examiner that we've looked at the chart, we've looked at the information, we understand it. And even though we may make slight mistakes, the whole point is about showing we understand. Okay, so next question. 4th question. I'll go back to our blue colour. I like blue, especially on a Saturday. 4th question. So do we have any categories or do we have any extra information? Let's write this down. Right. And in this case, yes, we do. We have a lot of information. So we're measuring consumption of food and drink. So this is what we write in this next part. So let's do the ... And let's write down, so measured in pounds and gallons, so of 7 types, okay, so 7 types of food and drink. Okay. So, and it's in America, so let's say in America. Okay, and put a comma here, because we almost finished the first example. Now, 7 types just there. Okay. Now this is really important, and I'll do this in a. I'm going to be writing. Okay, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's going to be 9 words. Now remember, your writing task 1 is actually. Okay, so your writing task 1 is 150 words or more. So if we actually start to write 9 words, and this is just copying these 9 words, then the examiner is going to think that you're taking time writing, you're just copying what the table says, you're copying everything in the table, whatever, then don't actually copy it. Just try to rephrase it if you can. Okay, so let's with question. Over, so oh, it's a bit large. So the question is, so over how long? So this is the period of time. Period of time. Okay, this could be weeks, months, years, and if you look in this particular writing task one, we begin in 1980, we finish in the year 2000, and so it's a 20-year period. So that's what we're going to write. So just write this because so we're going to say, okay, oh, okay, so let's get out a question down here. Question number 6 is when. So if we're in here, okay, so in this one here, when, so we have 1980, 1990, 2000, and that's what we write. So we're going to write this one, okay, we're going to say here between was it 1980 and 2000. Good. And that's our finished writing task 1 introduction. 6 questions, but the 6 questions help us to write one single sentence. And that's the kind of thing the examiners like. Longer sentences, a bit more complex. And it reads like this. So the table presents information about the rate of consumption, measured in pounds and gallons, of 7 types of food and drink in America over a 20-year period between 1980 and the year 2000. Okay? And we're going to also, I'll just show you a copy of the full sentence written out as well. So let's put this on the chart so we can see it. Okay, and again, it'll be available for you to look at. Let's paste it in. Right. Okay, made it a bit larger. And it looks like this. Yeah, and we can see it just there below the chart. Just here. The table presents information about the rate of consumption measured in pounds and gallons of 7 types of food and drink in America over a 20-year period between 1980 and 2000. These 6 questions are really very important. It means that you can get on to your writing task 1, your main body paragraphs as quickly as possible. You don't want to spend time doing an introduction. And the strange thing about introductions is that if you get it right, nobody's going to care. Because it's right, it's fine. Let's go on to the next part of your writing. But if you get it wrong, if you don't identify what's being measured, then everybody's going to care. In this case, the examiner's definitely, absolutely going to care. So guys, what I would just take a quick screenshot of this. And again, this will be available for you to download when we finish. And again, the link will be posted in the comments section. So let's export that. Okay, done. Good. Okay, right. So that's an example of a table. So let's try again for a bar chart or bar graph. And we're going to have the same questions. So let's look at those questions again. Okay, so if we can remember what the questions are. Do you remember the first question? Hopefully you said, okay, so what chart is this? And then, do you remember the second question? That's right, it's what's being measured. And then the third question is how do we measure this? And then our fourth question. Well, that's right. So we have any categories or extra information. Our fifth question is over how long? And the last question, the sixth question here is when. So these are the 6 questions that can help us. So it is our advice to you, people who are trying to do this test, that you learn these 6 questions and you do this practice again and again and again and again. The faster you can do it, remember, the more time you have for writing task 1, the body paragraphs and the general statement or the conclusion. So let's go on to actually do this example. We know that we are looking at a bar chart, or we can say bar graph. Okay, so that's what we're going to say. So the first thing we'll say, let's do it in red this time, make it a bit different. The bar chart. And here again it says the word shows. Let's change it again. So this time I'm going to say compares and contrasts. Because a lot of your writing task 1 is going to be about comparing and contrasting things. Let's have a look again here. Let's make it a bit larger. So what is being measured? Let's just zoom in for a second. And we're told that the chart below shows the number of travellers using different types of transport. So we have the bus, the car, the bike, the foot. We have the percentage of total travellers on one side. And we have 3 periods of time, 1950, 1970 and 1990. So we're measuring the number of travellers, how many people. Okay. And so let's write this, come back out. We're going to say here we could say let's say the quantity of, let's say the rate of people. Rate of people. Okay, dot dot dot. Okay, and how do we measure this one? We can identify in the bar chart that here it's in percentages, so we say that, put a comma, we could say measured in percentages. Okay, comma, dot dot dot. Okay, and do we have extra information here? Well, yes we do. Okay, so let's put in our dot dot dot. I'm going to say dot 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 a few times, so I'm sorry for that. Say who used to say four forms of transportation. Okay, now this is something I should bring up right now. It's sometimes the words that we see in the chart are fairly unique, and transport is one of those words. It's hard to paraphrase it, it's hard to change it to another word. So here in the chart it says transport, and you'll find that actually in the sentence we're writing we change it to transportation. If we can do this, it's fantastic, because we are now demonstrating to the reader, the examiner in this case, our language range. Basically, we know things like transport, transporting, transported, transportation. We're showing our language range, and that matters. If we keep on saying transport, 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 then the examiner is going to think that maybe you just know this one word, and that could be a problem. Right, moving onwards. Let's go back to our lovely red colour. Right, so over how long? And we can see that it starts in 1950 and it finishes in 1990. So in this case, we're going to say and we have 1, 2, 3 periods of time. So we're going to do something different here. We're going to say in three periods of time. 3 periods of time, like this. Okay, and when? Well, now we'd actually talk about when it is. Actually use the numbers in here, and we can put in this time a semicolon. And if you're not sure about semicolons, then ask your teacher or ask us. We can help you with this, or look on the internet. They will also supply you with the answer. And we can say the words namely. Namely means specifically or in detail. So 1950, 1970, and 1990. And that's it. That's again the 6 questions and how they work for this writing task 1. So we say the bar chart compares and contrasts the rate of people measured in percentages who've used 4 forms of transport over in 3 periods of time, namely 1950, 1970, and 1990. And again, let's put a copy of the whole thing inside, just underneath. So put it here. Okay, just move that. Okay, and that's not right. Okay, so let's try this. Delete it again. Okay, so well done. Great. It looks like this. The bar chart compares and contrasts the rate of people measured in percentages who use 4 forms of transportation in 3 periods of time, 1950, 1970, and 1990. Okay, and the word there, we actually need it, so we'll delete that. Okay, guys. Right. So, those are 2 step-by-step examples, and so far we've looked at the table and the bar chart bar graph. Okay, and if you bear with me a second, again I'm going to take a copy of this and I'll just put it in our folder for you to download when this session is finished today. Right, good, done. Okay, so let's do things a bit faster now, and let's move on to the pie chart or pie graph. Okay, we tend to say, in this case, we tend to say, I would recommend a pie chart is probably more accurate. So let's do that. Right. Now, in this example, we're going to be actually we're going to write the sentences this time. We are not going to write the questions, and you're going to see more naturally how this sentence comes together. Have a quick look at the chart first, and we're told that the charts below show the choices made for lunch by school dinners by school pupils in England in 2 different years. Let's look at the first pie chart. We have here, okay, so primary school pupil, 2005, and we have here secondary school pupils and 2003. So we know, we say, and just, I won't give you the answer, but quite often you're going to have different shades of grey in the charts. I just got a question for you. I'm not going to tell you the answer. Maybe you can tell me next time or post it again into the comments below. But why do you think that we have 2 different colours here? I'll put the question why for you to think about. Okay, and you'll see that for secondary school pupils who are much older, we're going to have more of this red, this dark red, here, 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 for example. Again, the question is why? Now, we're not going to tell you the answer, but I'm going to give you this advice. Be careful. The diagrams, the charts, the processes, the maps, anything that you see in the arts test is there for a reason. And the question is, you should be asking yourself why. Why is this a darker color? Why is that a lighter color? Why is this part of the bar chart white? Why is that part red, for example? There's a reason. So if you can understand the reason, then it can make a very significant difference to your writing task 1. So let's move on. Introductions. As we know, we've said very clearly there's already a pie chart. So if we remember those questions, okay, so what kind of chart is it? And we actually say here, so we say the pie chart, and there's more than one, so the pie charts, okay. And again, the word shows. Can we use another word? We can use the word illustrates. Illustrates, okay, the pie charts illustrate, like this, okay. Okay, and we're going to change to another color. And what are we talking this time? We're talking about how the choices that different students made during this time. So we write it on, so illustrate the popularity of different lunch choices. And then remember, the next question is how do we measure it? So let's change it to color. And it's a pie chart. Now pie charts are always in percentages. So we can say this is so measured in percentages. Okay. And then, so do we have any more information? Well, yes we do. We know that these are primary school students and secondary school students. So we can actually say that. We say made by. So both younger and older British students, okay, because they're in the UK. And don't forget the capital B for British. Examiners like these small things, so don't forget. Students, okay. And then the next part, do we know how long? Well, here we have to be very careful because these are younger students in, so to make it a bit clearer, these are younger students in 2005 and these are older students in 2003. So here, this time, there's no time period. Be very careful when you read this information. There's no time period. Unless, of course, the students have time machines. And if you're a fan of Doctor Who in the UK, which I know my wife is, my family, a lot of British people like Doctor Who, then maybe a time machine is possible. But here, not so much. Okay, so we have no time period. We cannot write it. But we can say when. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to say, put a comma inside and say in 2005 and 2003, and this word here, which is important, respectively. Now the word respectively is actually very important because it tells the reader this piece of information. It tells them that 2005 connects to the younger students and 2003 connects to the older students. Okay. If we didn't have the word respectively, then it's going to be a bit confusing for the reader. And the one thing we do not want to do is to confuse the reader, because the reader this time, as you know, is the examiner. So, that's the pie charts illustrate the popularity of different lunch choices, measured in percentages made by both younger and older British school students in 2005 and 2003 respectively. And for those who can't read my writing, and I do apologize for that, I think my writing is actually not bad, but when you go to university or your master's or PhD programs in the future, there's really unfortunately no guarantee that the teachers you'll have, your professors, are going to have clear writing. So I will try to write as clearly as possible. If there's something you don't understand, please get in touch and ask us again, and we can reply with a quick email explaining something. Here is the example for this one. Let's make it a bit larger for you to see. Okay, so the pie charts illustrate the popularity of different lunch choices made by both younger and older British school students in 2005 and 2003 respectively. Okay, and just take a quick photo of this one, and again we'll put it into the Dropbox folder, which we'll share with you later, which actually has all this information. Okay, just a quick photo. Download that. Okay, good, done. Right. Okay, so that brings us on to the last one, the line chart or the line graph. And again, let's do the same thing again. We're not going to write the questions this time. We're just going to go through and write the example introduction. And we'll do it again in different colors so you can see how the different parts come together. What do we see here? Well, the first thing to do, always the first thing to do, is to make sure you understand the task itself. So the diagram below shows fresh fruit and vegetable consumption by the UK public, 1942 to 2004. We can see that we have our three categories. We have our fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, and fruit juice. Okay, and the British people, I promise you, they do like fruit and vegetables, but maybe we don't have such a wide selection as you'd have in Asia or over in other parts of the country. But we have great apples. We love our apples very much. So hopefully you'll come and enjoy some. We have our measurements here. It's grams per person per week. We have our year at the bottom, which means we have a time period. So I think we understand all of the information that we need. So let's move on. Okay. So let's do our introduction again. Let's write this one and get some color. So we know it's a line chart, so we're going to say that. We're going to say the line chart, although line graph is fine also, the line chart. And what about, we have the word shows again, so let's say provides data, about, and let's go on to write the next part. We are measuring consumption, again how much we're eating, so we're going to say the rates, about the rates of consumption. Again, how do we measure this? Well, you can see just here that it's grams per person per week. Now we can say grams per person per week, but we have this word per, which means every. So we're going to change it to the word every. Every, or we can say the word each. These are also good examples. So every week, each week. Anyway, let's write this in. Okay, so give us a color. Let's go for green this time. Put in our comma. So we're going to say measured measured in grams per person. And we can change it. I'm going to say the word weekly. Weekly as an adverb, it means the same as every week, each week. Okay, and this is a nice thing to do because we actually did a transformation. We took the word week, we said per week, and made it weekly, which shows the examiner that we can use adverbs in our writing to show information, and adverbs are very nice to see. Right, what are we doing? Okay, so what is our categories? So our categories here are going to be consumption of, let's say, so fresh, okay, fruit, juice, and vegetables. Okay, and we're going to say by people in the UK, because we have the UK public. So let's write it. Okay, so that's more by people in the UK. And do we know how long? The answer is well, yes, we do. We have our 1942 to 2004. We have this lovely time period. So we put a comma and say during 62 years, if my math is okay. But if your math is not quite good enough, don't worry about it. It is an English test, it's not a math test. So if you make a slight mistake here, the examiners are not going to worry. And the last thing to write here, let's do it in purple. So from 1942 to 2004. Like that. Good. So the line chart provides data about the rates of consumption measured in grams per person weekly of fresh fruit, juice and vegetables by people in the UK during 62 years from 1942 to 2004. Okay, guys. And again, if my writing is bad, and I will apologize now for that, I'll just give you another copy which has been written out more nicely, like this. Let's put it in. Okay, actually, let's do this one. Let's take this one, put it here, okay, boom, okay. And I can just cut and copy paste into that, good. I'll copy, let's try this again. The line chart provides data about the rates of consumption measured in grams per person weekly of fresh fruit, juice and vegetables by people in the UK during 62 years from 1942 to 2004. And last time today, let's take a quick shot of this and put it into the screenshots below so you can download it and share with your friends. Great. Okay, guys, so this is a writing task 1 introduction. We are focusing just on the data tasks, the table, bar chart, pie chart and line chart. But hopefully it shows you that by learning these 6 questions and practicing is the key point. One of the things we are constantly telling our students is practice, 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 is that you can get this introduction done in about 1 or 2 minutes, and that's your target, 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. The questions, if you have any questions, then I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, if anybody wants to post any questions into the line chat, then I'll be happy to help you. This is your chance. If you have something and you want to ask it, then please just feel free to ask right now, and I can try to help you if I can. while we're waiting for anybody to write questions, if they have any, let's just make some more things. There are a few things more to say before we finish today. Things to remember. Okay, so let's things to be careful about. To remember. And this is okay. This is just writing task 1. This is just our introductions. First thing I want to mention to you is try to paraphrase. Now, paraphrasing we know is difficult, and we understand that students will spend a long time trying to find other ways of saying the right thing. Paraphrasing matters because you're showing the reader, the examiner, how much language you know. But there are going to be times when you can't paraphrase, you don't know other language. Well, don't worry about this. We've already shown today that words like shows, which comes up very often, we can actually say provides information about. We can say compares and contrasts. We can say illustrates. These ones are quite acceptable. One thing that students often use, and we need to be careful about this one, is the word demonstrates, which we need to say is not a good word to use. Do not use the word demonstrates, because if we demonstrate something, then we actually are showing some example of a theory. So, for example, if it's raining outside and the car is driving very quickly and it stops and it skids, we are demonstrating that, well, you shouldn't drive very quickly in wet rain. Or if we go to a restaurant and we order too much food, then we're demonstrating that the idea that we should only eat what our stomach needs. If you're not sure about the word demonstrates, then definitely check it in the dictionary, but it's not the right word to use. Okay. So if we can't paraphrase, then instead we should try to do what we call a grammatical paraphrase. So other ways to do this. Other ways, just move the board up a bit. Okay. Other ways to do this. Well, if we see, for example, the word plastic consumption, and we're not really sure what do we mean by plastic consumption. Plastic consumption, does that mean that somebody's eating plastic? If we try to paraphrase that, we could say, eating plastic, and that could be a very strange thing to say. So this, for example, would be a mistake of us paraphrasing, but maybe we don't understand it. It's better to do what we call a grammatical paraphrase. So a grammatical paraphrase. And this means the word plastic consumption instead becomes the consumption of plastic. And this would be a much better way of doing this. Sometimes the writing task ones are going to have some vocabulary, some ideas that we're not familiar about. Of course that's going to be a problem, but don't panic too much. If you can grammatically paraphrase something, here for example, we have consumption, we have the word consumption, and we have consumption here, and then we have the word plastic, but plastic here. We've actually not changed any words, but we have changed the grammar around. And this is a great thing to show examiners. The final choice, of course, if you can't paraphrase and you have to copy, then just copy. It's better to write something than sit there in panic, go, and worry because you don't know other language. My advice to you is, if you don't know other language, just copy it. It's better to write something than write nothing at all. And although this is focusing just on writing task 1, you need to consider that we have writing task 2. Writing task 2 is coming. And if we can get writing task 1 done as quickly as possible, then writing task 2, we have more time. And as you know, writing task 2, with the challenges of the ideas, the structure, the examples, the language, the linking phrases, for example, which we'll look at, then we need to get writing task 1 done as quickly as possible. Okay. So, guys, we're coming to the end. I see that nobody's asked questions. That means either I'm an amazing teacher, unlikely, well, maybe, or maybe I've given you, or maybe you're still thinking about it. But please, 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 if you have any questions, our contact details, our Facebook details, our Twitter details, everything like this is actually put inside the description below the video. And if you have any, just use one of those, get in touch. We'll answer as quickly as possible. If we don't answer, we're sleeping. Remember, the UK here in Cambridge is actually 8 hours behind. So if you're, just keep that in mind when you're texting us or messaging us. We're going to be back next week at the same time, 10 o'clock on Saturday, which is Saturday the 10th. And at that time, we're going to this time focus on writing task 2. We're going to look at the different kinds of writing task 2, and also how the different questions are going to change the structure and the presentation of our writing. Yes. For those who have joined us, really thank you very, very much. It's been lovely. Here in Cambridge, it's about 7 degrees. It's quite cold, so I can feel all this love and warmth coming through the screen. So thank you for those who are watching. If you do have questions, please get in touch, and we look forward to helping you very soon. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Same time, same place. And goodbye from Cambridge.